I never thought my life would twist into something out of a thriller. I'm a woman who always believed in quiet beginnings, in building a home where peace could finally outweigh the chaos of the past. Growing up, I had my share of storms. Family, that never really understood me. Friends who were more like shadows than anchors. Maybe that's why when I bought this house, I swore to myself it would be my sanctuary, my kingdom. A place where the noise of the world couldn't touch me. The first time I stood outside that house, the sun was dipping low and the sky looked like it had been painted with fire. It wasn't much from the outside, modest, tucked between properties. That looked bigger, bolder, but it was mine. For the first time in my life, I could look at 4 walls and say, "This is where I belong." My dogs, 3 overgrown furballs who follow me like shadows, darted across the yard, their paws digging into the grass like they were already claiming the land. I remember laughing, standing there with my hands on my hips, thinking maybe, just maybe, life was going to give me a break. But life doesn't work like that, does it? Peace is never given freely. It's stolen, or it's fought for. I met her on my 2nd week in the house. My neighbor, an older woman with thin lips that curled into a smile but never reached her eyes. She introduced herself with politeness, so sharp it felt like glass. At first, I thought she was just lonely. She lived with her husband, a quiet man who barely looked at me, and a daughter who seemed too busy staring at her phone to notice the world around her. The woman talked too much, asked too many questions, and her eyes lingered too long on everything I owned. My car, my dogs, the way I trimmed the hedges. I should have trusted my gut when I felt that prickle of unease every time she looked at me. It started small. I'd wake up to find my trash bin overturned, my recycling scattered down the street like confetti after a parade. I thought maybe it was raccoons, or maybe even kids. But then the notes came, slipped under my door, written in blocky all caps, letters that screamed more than they spoke. Keep your dogs quiet. Your car is an eyesore. People like you don't belong here. I remember sitting on my kitchen floor one night, one of the notes crumpled in my fist, my dogs pressing their warm bodies against me like they could feel the storm rising inside me. I wanted to believe it wasn't her, that maybe there was some mistake. But deep down I knew. Her smile had always been a little too thin. Her questions had always cut a little too deep. The breaking point came on a morning thick with humidity, the kind of morning where the air sticks to your skin like glue. I walked outside to find my garden, my tiny, precious garden that I'd poured hours into, uprooted. Flowers yanked out of the soil, their roots drying in the sun, dirt scattered across the walkway. I stood there barefoot, the earth cold and wet beneath my feet, and something inside me cracked. I heard laughter, faint, drifting over the hedge. And when I looked up, she was there, standing on her porch, sipping coffee, her eyes locked on me. She didn't look away. She didn't hide the smirk tugging at the corners of her mouth. That was the day I stopped being patient. That was the day I decided if she wanted war, I'd give her one she would never forget. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have guessed, was that I'd been through worse battles than she could ever imagine. And unlike her, I knew how to fight dirty. I didn't react right away. That's what she expected. An explosion, yelling, maybe even tears. That's how bullies operate. They prod, they push, they wait for you to break so they can call you crazy. No, I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. Instead, I smiled back. I forced it, of course, but it was wide, sweet, almost theatrical. Her smirk faltered for just a second. That tiny hesitation was all the confirmation I needed. This was war, and she had no idea who she was up against. The next few weeks became a test of endurance. Every day I found something new, scratches along my car door, dog toys gone missing from the yard, Packages lost from my porch, even though the delivery company swore they'd dropped them off. I filed police reports, but they went nowhere. It's all circumstantial, they said. No proof. Proof. That word burned into my brain like a brand. I knew what I needed. Undeniable evidence. So I installed cameras. Not just the obvious ones. Those were for show. Little plastic guardians meant to deter amateurs. The real ones were hidden. In the birdhouse, under the eaves, even in the garden gnome she once mocked me for owning. Night after night, I combed through footage, my eyes burning, until finally... There she was. The video showed her creeping into my yard under the cover of night, her robe fluttering around her ankles like a ghost. She bent down, plucked the flowers I'd replanted, and tossed them into a garbage bag. She looked right into the birdhouse camera at one point, eyes glinting with malicious glee, and whispered something I couldn't hear. But I didn't need to hear it. I had her. I thought about marching over right then, shoving the footage in her face, and watching that smug expression crumble. But that would have been too easy. Too merciful. No. I wanted her to feel the same, crawling dread she had planted in me. I wanted her to rot in it, so I waited. I watched, and I planned. The first move was subtle. Every morning, I walked my dogs past her house, smiling and waving as if nothing had happened. My dogs would bark at her fence, their hackles rising as though they sensed the venom dripping from her soul. I'd laugh, soft and airy, and apologize for the noise. Her smile grew tighter each time, her jaw clenching until I thought her teeth might crack. The second move was bait. I left a box on my porch, empty, just cardboard. But I spray-painted the logo of a high-end tech company on the side. Then I sat back and waited. Sure enough, the next morning, the box was gone. And that night, the footage showed her dragging it into her garage, looking over her shoulder like a thief in a heist movie. When she opened it, all she found was crumpled newspaper and a note. Smile. You're on camera. I swear I could hear her scream from across the yard. That was the beginning of her unraveling. She started avoiding me, her once bold stares replaced by nervous glances. But the attacks didn't stop. Oh no, they got worse. One morning, I came out to find 2 of my car tires slashed clean through. Another time, she left raw meat scattered in my yard, hoping to make my dogs sick. That one almost broke me. I stayed up all night watching over them, my stomach twisting with rage so sharp it made me tremble. But I didn't lash out. I didn't cave. Because every time she struck, she only dug her own grave deeper. I kept recording. Every move, every trespass, every vile act. It was all there, stored in neat little files waiting for their day in court. Still, evidence wasn't enough. Not for me. I wanted her to feel it. I wanted her to taste the poison she'd poured into my life. And the opportunity came sooner than I could have hoped. Her daughter. The girl was maybe 18, quiet, always glued to her phone. I'd see her in the driveway sometimes, shoulders hunched, eyes hollow. One evening, as I was walking the dogs, she passed me and whispered, so soft I almost missed it. I'm sorry. I froze. For what? I asked. But she was already gone, disappearing into the house like smoke. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a bitter old woman lashing out at the world. This was rot, spreading through a family, choking everyone trapped inside. And that girl? She was drowning in it. I couldn't save her, but I could make damn sure her mother paid for every ounce of misery she'd inflicted, and so I sharpened my plan. The petty games were over. Now, it was time for the real revenge. The night everything came crashing down, the air itself felt electric. I'd been waiting for this moment like a predator stalking its prey, silent and patient, knowing one wrong move could ruin everything. At exactly 2:07 a.m., I heard it. The low, grinding hum of her water pump kicking into overdrive. My pulse quickened. This was it. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake my dogs curled up beside me, and padded across the cold tile to the mains. My fingers hovered over the valve, trembling, not from fear, but from the raw thrill of what I was about to do. Then, with a sharp twist, I cut her lifeline. Silence. Then the hum returned, louder, angrier, like a beast thrashing against its cage. But the beast was starving. No water flowed, no relief came. The pump screamed and clawed, but I'd strangled it at the source. Hours passed. I lay awake, wide-eyed, waiting. And then, right on cue, the chaos began. Shouting, slamming doors, lights flickering on in every window of her house except hers, because her ancient wiring had given out under the pump's relentless hunger. Her tenants spilled into the street, furious and loud, their voices carrying through the night. "She promised us working utilities," one roared. "I'm not paying rent for this," another shouted. I stood at my window, watching it unfold, my heart pounding with a mixture of adrenaline and cold satisfaction. For the first time, she was the one scrambling, the one drowning in her own negligence. By dawn, her house was silent except for the occasional barked argument. Word spread quickly in neighborhoods like ours. Tenants here had rights, real ones. By noon, the complaints had been filed. Police cars rolled up, sirens muted, and I watched with quiet glee as she tried to explain away the mess. But the law wasn't on her side this time. A $500 fine, refunds of both deposits, repairs she couldn't afford, tenants gone, her only income gone. The next day, I was outside watering my garden when she appeared at my gate. Her face was pale, drawn tight, like the mask of someone who hadn't slept in days. She didn't yell, didn't sneer, none of her usual venom. Instead, she asked, in a flat voice, "Did you turn off your water the other night?" I tilted my head, feigning innocence. "Oh, that? My plumber found a leak. I had to shut it off for a while." "Why?" For a moment, she just stared at me. Her lips pressed into a thin line, her hands curled into trembling fists. But she said nothing. Nothing at all. She turned and walked back to her collapsing empire of a house, shoulders hunched under the weight of her own undoing. And me? I felt lighter than I had in months. No, years. She thought she could steal from me, torment me, make my life a living hell because she believed she was untouchable. But in the end, it only took one twist of my hand to unravel her entire world. Now she's moving in with her daughter, too broke to stand on her own. Her house sits half empty, gutted by silence, a monument to greed and entitlement. And me? I sleep soundly. My dogs snore softly at my feet, my garden blooms, and for the first time since moving in, my house feels like a home. Sometimes, I replay the look on her face when I told her about the leak. That flicker of realization, that split second where she knew without proof, that I'd outplayed her. It's a memory I savor like a fine wine, rich and intoxicating. Because revenge isn't about rage. It isn't about screaming or fists, or breaking things. True revenge is quiet, precise, surgical. It cuts deeper because it's clean, undeniable, and poetic. She thought she could steal my water. Instead, I drained the life out of hers. Sweet, silent, final.